How's it going? We're going to be painting some birch trees today. The paints we need today are titanium white, permanent black, burnt umber, Viridian, blue cobalt, ultramarine blue, and that's what we need. So in the background we're going to be doing this nice little gradient from going from Viridian to ultramarine blue. We gotta go to the stop with Viridian, in the middle of Cobalt blue, and down at the bottom is Ultramarine blue. We gotta go back and forth, making sure to blend these colors together so that we get a nice even blend from top to the bottom. Just keep on blending it while it's wet until you get the gradient you would like. If you by chance get a piece of brush in the paint, just flick it out and continue to make your gradient, and make sure the bottom is nice and dark and top is nice and bright. And we're going to get this so that we can have a nice background to paint on. Now my cobalt blue is, if you look at the pigments in it, has pretty much a white and ultramarine blue mixed together. I get my, in this painting I'm using Master's Touch paints, so not the highest quality, but we're gonna get this done. So I moved on to my snowbank down here at the bottom. We're gonna have white, and the shadows in our snowbank are gonna be comprised of a mixture of white and ultramarine blue. We don't want really blacks for a snowbank shadows, because this does not look right. Just get a little blue and some white and mix that together and try and make your shadows where you think they're gonna be. You know, get little hills here and there. Just get some depth, and you never know. Maybe a little bit darker blue at the bottom, and so that we can see the shadows. After we get our shadows done, we're going to move on to the trees. And the trees, birch is going to be white, and then we're going to have kind of a brownish red shadowing or flaking of the tree bark. So I put a couple of layers of white down here so that I can cover up that blue in the back. And you know what, it's always good to your top layer of color to be textured in the direction you'd think the trees would be. So most bark on birch are horizontal, so let's give it a little bit of texture on the horizontal versus vertical, so it looks a little bit more natural. Yeah, just move up and down that tree so you get that birch texture going left and right. And make sure you cover up most of that blue so it doesn't show through, because we really don't need the background in our images, now do we? Now, it's always good to have an odd number of trees in your painting, if you're going to have trees at all, and that way it doesn't just look unnatural. For some reason, the odd number of trees looks more natural than even. And give them all sorts of corners. And so after we get the trunks done, we're going to move on to a thinner brush so we can get the fatter branches in there. So let's put branches on both sides of here. Just little branches where we think they'll fit in. And you really won't be able to tell which ones are in front and which ones are back until we start doing the shading or the texture with the burnt umber. But just put fat branches in, and once you're done with doing the fat branches, we'll move on to thinner brushes, and you'll use thinner and thinner paint brushes to get the thinner branches. And so it looks a little bit more natural, because you gotta remember that the base of trunks or branches are going to be thicker than the tips. And just put the branches where you think they go, sloped upwards. So, because those branches were trying to reach for the sky. And you know, no happy branches reaching for the ground. They're reaching for the sky, trying to get closer and closer to the sun to feel that warmth. So, but during the winter, you know, the leaves falling off, so they can't really feel that warmth because it's nice and cold. So we won't be putting any leaves on these branches. So, just a little bit more branches here, thinner ones. Just put them where you think they deserve, where you think they're gonna live the most. As you do more and more, you're gonna get more used to where you think the branches should be for these lovely birch trees. Let's see what to do. Oh, let's add some shadings and detail for the birch trees. We're doing brown, well, even black makes it even darker. Just remember to do a horizontal lines, kind of giving it a trunk feeling. You know, not straight across, but kind of curved. And also you're going to be using your brown for shadows. So where do you think the shadow is going to be? So if the light's coming from the top right, they're going to be on the left side and on the bottom. And of course your birch trees are going to have some knots, so you're going to work on those knots, making them look a little bit more natural. However you think they're going to be sitting in there. You know, they're going to swirl around those knots. Just remember that whether the branches connect to the tree, it's kind of a knotty feeling, so you're going to have to do a little bit of curving, a little bit of shadowing. And we'll work on this, shadowing and knots and shape, and make the birch a little bit look more clear. And we're going to speed up and go to the end of doing the shadows and knots, and here we go as how I feel that birches should be looking, and hopefully your painting looks the way you want it to look.